was prepared for the ruggedness of it. I was prepared for the temperature disparities. I was not, however, prepared for the feeling that you get after being in there about a week. It really hits home to you that how insignificant you actually are in the face of all this, you see. As far as the animals go, I was absolutely floored by the level of intelligence that these things seem to possess.
Yeah.
And how we would leave the cabin when rocks would hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I said one night, two or three of the members were pretty wound up. They would go out and scream up the mountain. And I said, who's training who? You know, they elicited a conditioned response from us.
Yeah.
And I think in my head, they were thinking, let's throw some rocks on that metal roof and watch them run out.
Think so.
Who was really doing the research and the experimenting there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you guys were
Yeah.
part of someone else's experiment.
You get that feeling.
On a previous Beyond the Trail, we traveled to the Kiamichi Mountains of southeast Oklahoma, part of the broader Ouachita mountain chain. Long known for stories of large hair-covered man-like creatures, we visited the local Bigfoot Museum in Clayton, Oklahoma, as well as explored the Kiamichi wilderness, hearing about local stories from the areas in question. Continuing on where we left off in our exploration of southeast Oklahoma, we venture eastward from the Kiamichi Wilderness area towards the small town of Honobia. So I'm standing here in the little town of Honobia. That's actually how it's pronounced. We have the Honobia Creek, Bigfoot's official hamburger heaven behind us. This town, of course, for folks that are in the know or into the Sasquatch topic, will know that Honobia was made famous by an incident known as the Siege of Honobia from the late 1990s and early 2000s. Very interesting story. I don't know if it's true or not. I've heard lots of mixed opinions on both sides. But regardless of what happened, it's what put this very small, basically one-horse stop kind of town on the map here in southeast Oklahoma. And arguably it made this whole area very notable for the Sasquatch topic. I mean, there's been stories previous to that, and obviously since then, and you've got groups like the NAWAC and others that have operated here in southeast Oklahoma. But people didn't really think about Bigfoot or Sasquatch in this area until the Siege of Honobia really became a prominent story that was told online. So there's not a whole lot to see here in Honobia. The original brothers from the encounter apparently are very tight-lipped about what happened, and they don't do a lot of public speaking about it. They've only ever done a few podcasts and shows from what I understand, and have talked to people who have known them. They don't talk a lot publicly about just in general what happened. It seems like they don't want anything to do with it. Now the little town here does a Bigfoot festival every year, and they've been doing it for a number of years. There's an old documentary, The Town That Bigfoot Built, which was about what happened and, you know, kind of the aftermath of the whole siege incident and why, and then how the town was really one of these towns that embraced the Bigfoot topic early on, as opposed to a lot of others that, let's say Whitehall, New York, with the Abe Road incident, took them 30 plus years to really embrace it, whereas here they embraced it and it was kind of in the early 2000s. That being said, there's still not a whole lot to see here. So we decided to swing by here as we're driving from the western part of the Kiamichis to the areas further east, where we're going to be linking up with other local researchers. And I wanted to make sure it's kind of a place that's connected with Bigfoot lore in this area, to make sure to stop here in Honobia. Even though there isn't a lot to see, it's still a worthy stop if you're driving through the area. Leaving Honobia, we venture further into the Ouachita Mountains to link up with fellow investigators who we would spend the next few days with. Full Terminator mode here. This is a thermal, what do you call it, a thermal headset?
That works.
Oculus Rift Thermal Edition. This is crazy. You can walk around and not be that disoriented if you're on like a steady kind of path or a trail, but I mean, it would take some getting used to for sure. See if we can get it to look. Oh yeah, yeah, you can kind of see it a little bit. Oh yeah, here, point it at him. Yeah, there you go. So that's what you end up looking. So you see that and you're walking around. That's awesome. What a genius idea, man. You could just walk around all night with that on. What was the idea behind it?
To be hands-free.
Hands-free?
You know, when you've got a binocular up, you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
And when you're looking around, once you see something and you got a binocular or a monocular, and then you got to put it down to do what? You've lost all your vision.
Right.
I mean, to protect yourself. You've seen what you can do.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to come up with this and kind of design the whole system?
This is the second one. This is
V2?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
The first one I used a bicycle helmet, and because I didn't have a military helmet.
I think you sent me a picture of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it actually, I didn't know how to do all the hard wiring to it then, but it transmitted the signal. So I had a 25 milliwatt, transmitter just transmitting to it. So this one, I wanted to do away with the transmitting and just hardwire. And this is still not the finish. I'll get rid of all this, and I'll just drill right in here and get me a connection where it's just a short connection. It's
So cool.
And just run the battery cable up.
It's so neat.
And the problem with the other ones were they were Fat Shark goggles too, but they didn't have fans on it like this does. So after a while they start fogging up. This one won't fog up. So this battery will run this thing all night long.
The North American Wood Ape Conservancy, or NAWAC, has investigated this valley for a number of years in a location called Area X, with a variety of interesting results and encounters documented by the group and its various members. Much of this is chronicled on their website, woodape.org, and Michael May's book, Valley of the Apes, which I recommend checking out for yourselves. While we hung around camp waiting for the weather to clear up, I sat down with two NAWAC members who spent many years investigating this area with the organization. Well, guys, we are here in the beautiful Kiamichi Mountains. You guys tell me a little bit about, where we are and what Area X is to maybe somebody who might not be familiar with it.
Well, we are, as you said, in the Kiamichis. We're in the foothills of the Ozark-Ouachita Uplift, which is one of the oldest mountain ranges in the nation. And here we have a diversity in Oklahoma, 11 topographical regions converge in this area. Just a few miles to the west, we'll have plains. To the south, we have swamps. But that's been conducive, I believe, to the valley in that it offers biodiversity. What was it?
Sustain a
A
population.
population of each animals.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many. Our friend Alton said were in this area, 250 to 300 in all of the Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas area, but they thought maybe 3 or 4 animals lived here year-round. Is that right?
Well, I think he said in the entirety of the valley, as many as perhaps 10.
Is that right? Well, there's definitely more than 1 or 2 or 3.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Area X has kind of taken on a little bit of a reputation. It's a well-known kind of
Can't imagine
location.
why.
Yeah. You guys have spent quite a bit of time in there. Can you tell me about maybe one defining experience there in Area X?
Well, that would had to have been the night we were road tripping.
Yeah.
And,
Let me start out and you finish it.
well, either way, it's a good story.
We were sitting around a campfire. It was late. I was bored. And I said, well, I'm going to go for a drive in my Jeep. And Marvin said, I want to go. Another guy said he wanted to go too. And I had the top down, doors off, all opened up. And we took up a mountain and we didn't see or hear anything. And we went down this steep, rocky terrain going down into a rock pit. And it was rough on that Jeep, just beating us to death. I said, I got to find a softer place to drive. And I saw this road ahead that was mostly sand. So I turned off in it. And as I turned to the right, I looked down this long sandy road and there was an animal coming towards us. I thought it was a bear, so I kept looking and it was gray. And then I realized it wasn't a bear. I didn't know what it was. I said, Marvin, what's that up there? And he didn't get to catch it then,
I
but
didn't see it then.
later on we skidded to a stop in front of this big round hole in the brush. And Marvin is in my picture in my book. The hole was that tall.
Oh, well, maybe
Something was going in and out. Big, wide game trail from across the road into there. And then it went down about 3 feet into this big opening that was a bedding area. How big would you say that was?
No, that was 10, 15 yards
Okay.
diameter.
Okay, go ahead. Now you've got the
Well,
clear.
when we got down, you were behind me a little, is what best I recall. I got to that area first, and the FLIR was an old V2 thermal wand, and you had the focus ring on the front. So here I am doing this, and he's going, what is it? You see it? What is it? You see it? And I finally got it into focus. And I won't repeat for the program what I actually did say, but he agreed. So this thing is enormous, and it's at an angle like this from me, and I was struck by the thickness of its legs. And as I watched it ambulate, it appeared that it was curving back toward the road. And I said, it's turning back to the road, and handed it to him. And he got it back in focus again and said, it's on 2 legs. And then what happened, Jerry?
Well, I was looking through the thermal and it was a bunch of little saplings, just thick group of little saplings of some kind of tree. And this thing was standing up and it was going back and forth like it was hiding behind these tiny little saplings where it's like 3 foot wide. And I said, it's standing up, and I handed it back to you, and didn't you say it was headed towards the road?
Yes, it when I never saw the thing standing. I only saw it on all fours, quadruped. And I said, it's turned and it's heading back to the road. And Jerry, I don't recall you really even saying anything. I think you just ran.
Yeah.
We ran back to the road. And I could hear the thing approaching the road. I could hear Jerry on the gravel. And I thought, they're going to meet. And then,
Well, I had this same headlamp, as a matter of fact, and I was walking, scanning the trees to see if I could see anything, and there was an opening, about this wide, and there was a big old head in it, and bright eyes, bright reflective eyes, and I froze for like 2 or 3 seconds, and it did too, and we just stared at each other, and all of a sudden it just disappeared, like it turned its head or it squatted down or something, and I didn't hear it leave or anything, but it was in there still, and it never left. I
it
don't
never
think.
came out where we could see it
Mm-mm.
from our vantage point. And we stayed there, I don't know, an hour or more, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who was with us, who declined to go into the hole, said, well, it was a bear. And I said, well, A, you didn't see it.
Yeah.
And B, no bear is that big.
Mm-mm.
And it was serendipity, I guess. Not
Yeah.
long afterward, a bear came through, and we compared size. No,
Yeah.
not a bear.
It's a little bear about, that tall.
Yep.
And he said, "Oh, yeah, it's a bear." I said, "No, that's black." And what we saw was gray, which we knew there was a gray one in the valley called Old Gray, and that's what we saw.
Hmm.
And the interesting thing about it, we came back the next day, and I stood where I looked at it through the brush, and to get in that bedding area, if you want to call it that, you got to go down about 3 feet. So I realized that this animal was 3 feet down from me, and we were eye to eye. So I'm 5'8" and add 3 more feet, and you got a pretty big animal.
I think we actually did shoot a grade on that
Mm-hmm.
and figured out that it was somewhere in the neighborhood of between 7 and 8.
Mm-hmm. Huge.
Yes,
Huge.
absolutely huge.
Legs.
Legs that big
Got big
around. It's
around.
just insane.
It had to have been 10 foot
Was it?
tall and 800 pounds.
Yeah, it was.
Was that the
enormous.
first time you both had a visual?
Mhm.
And you'd been involved in the topic for a while, I imagine.
Oh yeah, we've
up
been
until
in
then.
the valley for 7, 8 years at least.
Yeah.
Every season. Sometimes 2 expeditions
Yeah.
a
2
season.
week-long expeditions this
Yeah.
summer.
And then afterwards, after seeing this thing, what was the initial kind of feeling?
We called each other for 2 weeks every day after we got back into the world to remind each other that we hadn't dreamed that it was not a misidentification.
Mm-hmm.
And did we really see that? Yes, we saw
We
it.
tried to explain it away. That had to have been a bear. No, it was not a bear. Well, it was, I don't know what it was. What was it? Well, it's a Bigfoot. What else could it be?
Yeah, by process of elimination. I returned to Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes. Whenever you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. And by series of elimination, I mean, what else could it have been?
That and the fact that they had seen a big gray one in there 2 or 3 times, and there was a podcast about the Old Gray, and everybody in the group knew it.
There were 2 old ladies lived back in
Yes.
there, and they said, "There's an enormous gray bear comes back here." And Alton said, "There are no gray bears."
Yeah, he's a scientist. He's got a PhD in wildlife, I think, and he said, "No, there's no gray or white bears in the valley or this part of the country. Maybe up in Maine or somewhere. So there's a gray animal."
Well, here they're either black or they're cinnamon.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's very fascinating. The fact that there's so many other sightings and stories about, this particular
Mhm.
color. Do you guys feel like it was an older creature or just the pigmentation that way, or?
It would have to be an aberration of melanin or age.
Yeah.
There's no 2 ways about that to
Yeah.
my mind.
We all thought at first Old Gray was old and he was gray, but
Mhm.
I don't know about that. It didn't act like it was old or feeble.
No,
It looked pretty
It moved
robust.
Yes, it
Yeah.
moved spryly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I replay it in my head years
Sure.
later.
Mhm.
Sure. Yeah, I imagine so. I mean, that's what I've heard from so many other witnesses. They constantly think about it, and that's such a unique color, I guess, to
Right.
witness.
Yeah. The thing that struck me is after all the time we had spent in there,
Mhm.
and it's a brutal environment.
Oh, well, you're here, right? So
You've
you
seen
know how brutal it is.
and it's 110 degrees, and it's just
Summer,
it's
yeah.
freaking hot. In the
Yeah.
winter, it's unbearably
It's
cold.
windy like it is
Yeah.
now.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we're up on a ridge, of course, but
Like
we're
I
getting
said,
more wind.
like I
But
said earlier, it can change your life. It
It
can
did.
possibly end your life.
Absolutely.
The thing that struck me about the camaraderie and the bond when you're in a situation like this where your life may depend on one of your comrades, well, it changes your perspective.
Yeah, and I'm glad somebody was there too, because if you just seen it or I just seen it, they'd say, "Well,
Mhm.
okay," but
right,
and then others had seen it.
you guys have that kind of camaraderie
Oh, yeah.
because of a shared experience.
Yeah.
Exactly. Something you have to live, and you can be told about it
Mm-hmm.
in vivid detail and not get that sense of, oh my God.
Yeah.
Remember, was it Ralph Waldo Emerson? The sense of the sublime,
Mm-hmm.
that was driven home. My God.
Wow. Now, after so many years of operating here in the Valley and working with the NAWAC and just the years you've spent here, is there anything that, for each of you separately, what surprised you the most about if you had to look back at when you first started coming out here to today, what surprised you the most about either these creatures or the area or something like that?
Some scientists had been in the week before, and they said there's a trail coming up to the cabin where we stayed, and they'd looked around and heard something and couldn't find anything, and they come over by the side of the cabin and were talking, and the woman said, "Look, there they are." And she turned and she said it was a female with a juvenile walking down this trail, and they stopped like they were shocked and just zipped up the mountain. Her husband said it was like they were on zip lines and their hands were tucked in like this running up the hill. And so we thought it was credible. So the next week, my friend Mark and I slept by that trail right there where they said they saw it. And by the way, her husband said, that's funny, but there's two black ones running up the hill, because we walked down the road and we just come back and those two big black logs we saw laying on the ground are gone. So Mark and I are out there about midnight, and I hear something coming up the trail, and it was, first I heard it come down the mountain. There's a big rock slide. It sounded like all the rocks on the mountain fell down, and something walked right beside my tent, and it stopped, and it turned around, and the wind was blowing from the east, and I think it caught my scent, and it came back, and I was looking up at the top of the mountain, and part of the mountain blacked out for a second. I thought, oh crap, I know what this is. So it went down to a place called the Bottleneck, and I thought that was it, but it came around the other side of this open grassy area, and I could smell it this time because the wind is in the right direction. It was the typical smell they say that Bigfoot have, and it stopped right by my buddy's tent, and I could hear it kind of squat down and start growling, and it scared me pretty bad, and it just kept growling at me, and I had a gun. I was ready to get it if it came out, but it wouldn't come out and open. So then it left, and I thought that's probably it, but it went down to the end of the Bottleneck, started roaring, and up on the mountain there was another roar, and down in the creek there was a scream. So there was three of them. So anyway, it came back again and squatted down and started growling at me. And that's all I could take. I hit the light on my gun and pointed, and there wasn't anything there. So that's the worst I've been scared in Bigfoot times.
Your question was what struck us about the area and the animals, so I'll address the area. I was prepared for the ruggedness of it. I was prepared for the temperature disparities. I was not, however, prepared for the feeling that you get after being in there about a week. It really hits home to you that how insignificant you actually are in the face of all this, you see. As far as the animals go, I was absolutely floored by the level of intelligence that these things seem to possess.
Yeah.
And how we would leave the cabin when rocks would hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I said one night, two or three of the members were pretty wound up. They would go out and scream up the mountain. And I said, who's training who? They elicited a conditioned response from us.
Yeah.
And I think in my head, they were thinking, let's throw some rocks on that metal roof and watch them run out.
I think so.
Who's really doing the research and the experimenting there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you guys were
Yeah.
part of someone else's experiment.
You get that feeling,
Wow.
and the longer you're in there with the bizarre things that will happen,
Oh, wow.
you just, it becomes commonplace is all I can say. At first you're just like, no, this can't be real. And then once the reality of the situation sinks in, you're thinking, oh, it is real.
Yeah, like you said, you eliminate everything else.
Right.
And this had to be what we were running into. And I told somebody earlier in the day, there was never just one. If you heard one in the brush, you'd walk towards it, and then back behind you, something would start rattling on the brush. You'd turn around back and forth, and they would keep us off balance that way. And they were playing with us,
We have to keep in mind that we did not actually see these things. So Bigfoot did this. Well, did you see Bigfoot do that?
Mm-hmm.
That's the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Especially we're educators,
Mm-hmm.
and we try not to, and it's hard not to go off the deep end. in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen men that I would never have thought would lose their composure, melt down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can think of two that just had to leave.
Yeah.
Wow.
Incredibly intense emotional experience.
Mm-hmm.
What big,
Fear not being one aside, you know,
Right.
the shock.
right. Well, I've heard stories from other folks that I know that were part of the group there that, you know, have had very, you know, even combat veterans that have had, you know, they said, I've never been more scared than
Right.
in that valley. And is there maybe something about the kind of vulnerability
Oh, yeah.
there that's
Oh, yeah.
present? Like, what is that? How does that kind of manifest?
That comes with time. The longer you're there, the more you realize how low on the food chain you are. Not only from the alleged Sasquatch, but the panthers, the bears,
Panthers,
snakes.
bears,
Oh God!
rattlesnakes, copperheads everywhere in the summer.
Mm-hmm. Like I said earlier, the biodiversity is amazing.
Yeah. And it's a dangerous place, and you just got to get that in your head. You better be careful.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend by the name of Lyle said, I'm not going in there. I've got a wife and a child that I have to take care of. I understood what he's talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I won't fault anyone for not going in.
Mm-mm.
Bravado of, you know, everybody says,
Yeah.
oh, I'll do it. You know what you're going to do, though. And you can have the best plan. The best laid plans of minds and Bigfoot researchers often go astray.
Yeah.
Whenever we look into this stuff, I always look back to the existing stories, the lore, the oral tradition. And that has pointed us more often than not in the right direction, hasn't it?
Yeah, the Native Americans that lived here before the Anglos ever came had stories about these things.
A millennia ago.
Yeah, millennia ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, the Normandy, the whole thing, the danger, and the Bigfoot that's there.
And they will tell you in training camps, extensive training camps, that this is no place for old men. It's no place for weak men.
Mhm.
And you think, oh yeah, you're just painting it as rough as you can to cut the, you know, turd. And then when you get in there, you realize that was not an exaggeration.
That's vulnerability. Right
And then
there.
when you go back and go back and go back, you start to say, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, that's right. It's just what it is. It's
It's
addicting.
wonderful though, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
We're here again.
Here we are. Yeah, we are.
Well, thank you guys. Let's
Thank
go
you.
down there and check out the valley.
We're going to go down and check it out, bro.
Well, let's go.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited, but you know, in a cautious way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The weather has been clearing up a little bit and we can see down into the valley. So actually we're going to go on a scouting trip now, ride with the Can-Am side by side, get down into really into the area around Area X, the valley. We're going to scout it now during the day so we can go back tonight in the around 2-3 a.m. and really get a feel for it. But now we'll go do a preliminary kind of scan down there and check it out, see what it looks like. Look at these cool rock formations. We're taking a little break here. We're overlooking the valley of Area X.
Bought AMC. So like 87 to 90.
That's why. It changes with a little bit of weight on it. I could go last and see somebody else can do that.
We finally made it down to the valley after a pretty rough ride, but this is basically Area X. I mean, it's the whole valley we're going to call Area X. So it's not the exact spot, which is private property where the NAWAC has operated for a while. But this is an area it's all the same habitat. We've got the creeks and the same tributaries that kind of feed into it. And there's high ground here, so great scouting trip in my opinion, because we're going to come back here later tonight and in the wee hours of the morning and see if anything wants to come check us out. I have my buddy Mike's thermal drone he let me borrow, so we're going to test that guy out here too and see if we can't spot wildlife. But I'm very, very excited. Area X is one of those places I wanted to go for a long time, and I'm glad to finally kind of be in the general area of it. And yeah, I'm really hoping these next few days will be interesting. Be here, and then we're going to move into other spots, but it is super cool. You couldn't ask for a more beautiful spot here. We have a little watering hole, swimming hole. I mean, if you were some kind of creature, this would be a perfect place to be. Man, I'm really, really glad we came down here. I'm really enjoying this. I don't know how deep that water is, but it looks like it goes decently deep. So we're here in kind of the general area. We'll call it of Area X, the whole valley. You obviously spent a lot of time in the original X with the NAWAC. What does it feel like coming back to this spot?
It's a strange feeling. It's been years and years since I've been in here. And back in the good old days, it was unbelievable all the activity we had. And so, yeah, being back here is just kind of weird, really. And this is definitely ape country, like the old compound we used to research at. There's high ground, there's a creek, they can go hide real quick. So this spot right here would be where I would sit.
Yeah, well, we'll have to come back tonight and see if that's or in the morning, and see if that's the case.
Yeah, it'll be morning.
What does it feel like coming back to this valley? I don't know when your last trip out here was, but
5 years ago.
5 years ago. How does it feel?
Brings back a lot of memories. We're about 2 miles from where Jerry and I had our sighting. It's been a decade in here, and it's an awesome feeling being back.
Stays with you, huh?
Absolutely. It changes your life. And if you're not careful, it can end it.
This is a great spot. I'm excited to come back here tonight. Only thing is you can't hear much audio because of the rivers, but hey, that's why we got thermals. That's why we got the drone. As we headed back up the valley, and just as the sun was setting, while rounding a corner on the trail, at one moment, I thought I saw a black object moving up the hill beside us. I immediately jumped out of the Can-Am to check it out. Thought I saw something move up here. So I jumped out of the side by side. I don't think it was anything. Yeah, I don't know. Could have been anything. Yeah, I can't see anything. It doesn't appear to be anything. I thought I saw movement up here.
Yeah, he's gonna take that tire off the back and he'll be able to move a little quicker.
But wasn't anything I could determine. Thought maybe it was the backside of a deer moving. Out here, you never know. That's why I figured it was worth jumping out and just running up the hill. False alarm. Just wanted to obviously make sure. I don't know. I thought I saw something, but could have been anything really. Okay, wow, super windy up here on this ridge, but it is 12:30 a.m. We are getting geared up, loaded up thermal drone equipment, lights, and we are going to head down into the valley the second time. I stay there till the morning. This is going to be epic. Going down that really rough road again, so it'll take us a while to get there. But here we go, I guess, into the Valley of the Apes, the Valley of the Sasquatch. Lots of thermals on here. Got a whole panel set up. So you can see some deer on the side-by-side thermal. They're way off in the distance though. You see those little dots? 1, 2, 3. As we move a little bit, you can kind of see them. So yeah, there they are. Yeah, you can see their body shapes. Great way to run thermals. Let's see how stable that thing is.
Nobody's got audio.
Sound like a bird though, no? Do a whistle?
That was very monotone though.
I got thermal.
Ready?
We heard. You guys hear those whistles?
I heard the whistle.
We just heard two.
There was 3 or 4 of them.
It was like a we heard two. It was like
No, that's not what we heard. Yeah, I heard. Not. Yeah. I can't even do it.
It was.
there was two. We heard the two once he killed the motor.
And you heard him here?
Right, just right now.
Right.
We turn around, we hit this.
We heard them back there when we stopped.
No. I heard it outside your window
Really?
in the trees right over there. If I was to look, I would have thought it was you
How
whistling.
the hell could that get, whatever it is, get from back there to here?
We heard it
Did you
50
whistle?
yards.
Well, these guys got a little turned around, so we came to rescue them, and we stopped. You guys initially heard the whistle. You told us to kill the motor, and Michael and I heard it twice. We heard it's just like a 2 of them. So I'm going to throw the thermal drone up now and see if there's anything hanging out in the area. Let's see, this has got to calibrate. After flying over the area and determining there was nothing large on thermal, we surmised it might have been a bird of some sort, and then continued on deeper into the valley to the location we had scouted out earlier.
Oh, nice.
We got it, we're good. No ice leaking out. That's another thermal now. I got on here, it looks sick. Look how cool it looks like that. We're back in the area down in the valley. Not really getting any spooky vibes or anything now, but it is, let me check, it's 3:47 a.m. so for the next couple hours this should be the time where real claim stuff happens, and a lot of alleged Sasquatch activity around this time. Stuff I've experienced and heard and recorded other places has been around this time too. So if we get anything suspicious, we'll get that thermal drone up. For now we're kind of hanging out, observing and listening and just seeing kind of what's present in the area. What do you think, dude?
It's pretty crazy.
Walk around a little bit. See what it looks like, yeah. Cool, huh?
Yeah, man. Awesome.
Getting ready to go in this Pulsar thermal scope. Very similar to my Pulsar Hellion 2 that holding. Not seeing much though, but it's pretty good. I'll compare them now. They're very similar. This one's just a little bit more, I don't know, it's got like a more, like it's got a smaller field of view. Well, Michael's out right now in the woods, and he's saying the barred owls are kind of getting alarmed at something. It is, what time is it right now? Let's find out. 5 a.m. So we're going to send the thermal drone to do our hard work for us, right?
I think you're good.
I'm clear of the trees, but the sensor's still freaking out. That's annoying. going up the ridge now. Video signal weak. Another small critter. Looks so weird. It's because the fog or the clouds. It's hard to tell. It's scary. Can I get over to it? Oh yeah, there's something. Big enough that's showing up on radar. Two things. See that? That better not be Mike. No, I don't think I've flown there yet. See that? Oh, bears.
Yeah.
They're going up the tree. See that?
Oh, okay.
I saw, like, I started seeing arms and I was getting like, oh, so, looks like there's the two there. I don't know if that, I don't think that's one at the bottom. I think that's just where they were. Oh no. It's like mom's at the bottom. Thought maybe it was just warm from when they were sitting there. Or they're probably freaking out. So yeah, we're looking at some bears and you can see the two cubs and mom is in at the bottom of the tree. The two cubs are currently climbing. Oh god. My signal is getting weak. I don't like that, so I'm not gonna mess around with it too much. I gotta come a little closer. Alright, well we got the bears. I want to move on from there. So about 6:20 in the morning. We're gonna probably get going here soon. Very quiet. Haven't really heard anything or seen anything since we flew the drone about an hour ago, I want to say. But daylight is approaching. We're obviously tired. So we're gonna start calling it here soon.
Depends on which hill we're on.
back into the valley. We're taking the vehicles down. Tonight there's only going to be 5 of us. We have the Can-Am and 1 Jeep. So we're going to head down there into the valley. Got the dual thermal set up here. So one of the thermal cameras right here. Again, kind of showed some of this last night, but this camera shooting out the side. It was actually not, this one was not working last night. So now we've got one on each side. So while he's driving, I can just scan and see what is going on wildlife wise outside either direction. But yeah, we're getting ready to go. So I'm going to monitor that as we drive. Well, let's get it. Back here by the creek. That scared me. He just played a Tarzan call, and that scared the absolute crap out of me. Pretty quiet so far. We showed up a little late, but the guys were here and they thought they maybe saw a bear on the thermal. We're going to do the drone in a little bit here, but we're kind of listening first. What are you playing now?
The Minnesota House, the 8.5 to 12 minute. I'll let this one play out, then let's steal this one. And then let's do the wounded jackrabbit and get all the smaller varmints. See if we can call in the bigger, predators.
My AR-10 in and I'm set on it.
Which one do you have?
it's extremely quiet here. We are gonna actually go up the valley. We've thermed here and done a bunch of searching. We've used the thermal drone to search here, so we're gonna go up the valley further, heading back towards it and do a stop and then launch a thermal drone, maybe see if there's anything further in the valley. And that's kind of the plan. It's about 5 a.m. now, so we're leaving a little earlier than we did previously. Unfortunately, it's way too windy up here. It's starting to rain a little bit. We're gained some elevation, and definitely not conducive right now for a thermal flight. And you can probably see just like the wind blowing my beard. It is not great right now. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to call it early tonight and head back. I mean, it's already about 6 a.m. or so, but yeah, it's a bummer. I was really hoping to get the drone up here, but it's all right. We still have time in other locations to give it a try. So tonight has been a quiet and uneventful night again, unfortunately. While our time in this part of the valley was uneventful for the most part, it was still amazing to see how the thermal technology worked with the drone, by witnessing things like those bears, and seeing just how truly rugged this area is. This is a far cry from what most people envision Oklahoma looking like, and I can fully see why there would be room for something mysterious to be lurking in these hills. This now concludes the second part of my adventures in Southeast Oklahoma. In an upcoming episode, we continue on and explore a different section of the mountains connected to the same valley, linking up with other Oklahoma-based researchers and hitting the woods hard with some interesting results.